these young kids, could you ever guess the hobby? Did you ever wonder why they on the street and dress so sloppy? Cause their heads dwelling and swelling, depressed with melancholy. Cause men tell them compelling, leaders sell the body. Brainwashed to think sex is the best investment, probably a place where no one dares to mention the words get him off me. And men who pay will never ever say they're sorry. They just get back on the plane home and never again replay the story. But then they come back next vacation to the same brothels, and guess who's waiting? It's a sad situation, but the faces stay patient, hoping to land in a nation and escape from enslavement. So they continue to sell sex in exchange for hope, not knowing that they'll always be chained by ropes. And as they get older, it's simple and plain, they live in a game where it's only the pain that grows. Sexually exploited, where promises of riches emptier than Nostradamus' long list of predictions. It's impossible to witness the brothels and give forgiveness for the problems they've inflicted, the profit off of this business. As young children are forced into the cruelest of positions, because tourists from Europe are still fueling its existence, expecting love with customers that'll bring him abroad. A dream of living in the first world, there's two peas in a pod, yet they leave him empty with all of the things that they've robbed. Hope, dignity, or even a reason to believe in a God, while police in the streets don't even perceive it as odd. Instead they conceal the mob or even steal the job. Raised as slaves inside of a caged den, boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men. Raised as slaves inside of a caged den, boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men.
A number of laws have been put in place by government, but there have been no arrests or deportations for engaging in sex tourism or pedophilia.
We also need to find out what are immigration policies around such tourists who come in from their countries where they cannot do it and who come here to do it to the children here.
The tourists exploit the children, molesting the features, but some women exploiting back by using sex for a visa. But they're both on the race to death and meet with the reaper, because HIV and STDs will leave them beat with the fever. Kidnapped at a young age, trafficked in poverty, sold by parents who see daughters as a commodity, who would rather have the color television of quality, while the government covers it with corruption and policy. But it ain't just poverty, we've been lied to and scammed. The real reason it continues is supply and demand. We need to stop looking at kids and put our eyes on the man. The perverted pedophilia people who privately plan to fly from our land to have sex with a minor. It's like a kitten forced into having sex with a tiger, and any tourist can lie or bribe their way out of crimes, and it'll never stop until we begin changing their minds. Thailand tightened restrictions which were meant to be harsher, but it continued the saga by extending it farther. 30,000 girls under 14 in Kenya, Mombasa, are trafficked every day as their world gets scarier and darker. Raised as slaves inside of a caged den, boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men. Raised as slaves inside of a caged den, boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men.
UNICEF study indicates that Kenyan tourists form 39% of the client base of exploited children. Italians, Germans and Swiss form the largest number of sex tourists in the country. According to the Institute for Security Studies, such tourists are between 45 and 65 years old, either divorced or seeking to rekindle their sexual lives by having sex with teenagers who are perceived to be free from HIV. Most child prostitution incidents go unreported, but when they are brought to light, authorities mostly do nothing for fear of the loss in revenue from the tourism industry. A number of laws have been put in place by government, but there have been no arrests or deportations for engaging in sex tourism or pedophilia.
And some are drugged with medications by the pimps, brokers, slaveholders, agents and traders. An entire business run by investors and corporations at the expense of all of the innocent children that hate it. The forceful application of terror will make them faceless, so they're violently beaten. The men are constantly raping, and if the girl becomes sick, then there's no restoration. Disposable bodies are replaced as the next one is taken. The best way to stop the hatred and the sex operations is to start rehabilitations and increase education. Laws and regulations that punish predations of the brothel owners, pimps and customers on vacations, and teach parents to think before seeking temptations, cause if none of that happens, the world will never be changed.
A study by UNICEF released in 2006 indicates that up to 30% of all the 12 to 18-year-olds living in the coastal areas of Malindi, Mombasa, Kilifi and Diani are involved in casual sex work. It is estimated that 10,000 to 15,000 girls living in these areas are being sexually exploited. A further 2,000 to 3,000 girls and boys are sexually exploited year-round by sex tourists in these same areas. Other estimates suggest that as many as 30,000 girls between the ages of 12 and 14 are lured into hotels and private villas to be sexually exploited. In Mutwapa alone, between 10,000 and 20,000 children are trafficked for the purpose of sex tourism. Despite knowing the vice exists, both government and locals sweep the issue under the carpet. Experts are now calling for tourists visiting the country to be vetted. Non-pedophiles and sex tourists must not be given a visa to enter the country. But it will take more than police action to end.
Raised as slaves inside of a caged den. Boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men. Raised as slaves inside of a caged den. Boys and girls for sale, some younger than age 10. A childhood where a brothel is the playpen, and they're chained in, they can't escape or evade men.